coming up. For now, back to you.
Lee, thank you. Now on Bounce, this Saturday, the nation will commemorate an important anniversary from the civil rights movement. Almost 50 years ago, hundreds of folks joined civil rights leaders to march from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery. They were fighting for the right to vote. And our Steve Crump has interviewed several key witnesses in that historic march for a documentary. He joins us tonight to talk about some of the folks that you talked with, regarding Selma, Steve.
Well, the footage that you just saw was from Bloody Sunday. That was the first of three marches that actually happened from Selma to Montgomery to demonstrate the right to vote. But you talk about the documentary that's coming up. We sat down with former Atlanta Mayor Andrew Young. We talked to Georgia Congressman John Lewis. In fact, Georgia Congressman John Lewis was among the 600 that were beaten right here on Bloody Sunday going back to March 7th Brigade of 1965.
And we also know that, folks from across the country answered Dr. King's call to join this march, many of whom were religious leaders who were not black, but they really contributed to the fight for voting rights.
And that's true, and several of them were here in North Carolina. In fact, there is a minister that we hear from in the piece. His name is Clark Olson, and he is a minister in Asheville and was along with Jim Reeb, who was beaten to death right after the second march known as Turnaround Tuesday. Also in that piece, there are a couple of other people from the clergy. There is a fellow by the name of Chuck Fager who worked with Quaker House out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. He now lives in Durham. And also Reverend Jesse Douglas, who was one of Dr. King's allies and headed up the Montgomery Improvement Association. He's also one of those unsung heroes, but he is retired and found life sunset years right here in the Queen City.
And I think another interesting component is that we hear from one of the youngest marchers who says that she left a note for her parents about her funeral in case she didn't make it. How did she get involved at such a young age?
You are talking about 8-year-old Cheyenne Christenberg, and she was one of those where you talk about the era in itself. There were people that were 8 years old, 11 years old, 16 years old. And the amazing thing, you saw some of the footage from Bloody Sunday. She was caught in that melee, and the story that she tells is she was being carried by civil rights activist Hosea Williams, and basically she said, "Put me down because my feet are moving faster than you can carry me."
What do you want? You're going to be in Selma this weekend for the anniversary. What do you want folks to learn from this special?
I was there 10 years ago and actually did an independent documentary, and every time you go back there, you learn something different. I mean, the Edmund Pettus Bridge is one of those places, one of those, I guess, monuments in many regards, because you see it and you know what it is. And I remember the very first time driving down Highway 80, and I could feel my Adam's apple sink from my throat down to my stomach. And the point that I'm trying to make is understanding the progress, understanding the pain and the sacrifice. I think it's a question of awareness, and it's a question of responsibility, because 50 years ago, people did not realize that you would have a president like a Barack Obama. Selma, in many regards, is one of these communities, just like Charlotte. Selma is on its second African-American mayor, and as a result of what happened some 50 years ago, you can see the changes that have occurred today, but people will be quick to point out that there's so many more strides that need to be made. And one of the other things as it relates to what's happening here, Reverend William Barber, who's known for Moral Monday, is going to be conducting a voter rights clinic this coming Saturday in Selma, Alabama.
All right, President Obama, members of Congress also going to be there. But before this Saturday, we want you to be able to watch Selma, A March to Remember. It airs this Wednesday right here on Bounce TV. You can watch it at 9 o'clock right after WBTV News on Bounce. That is at 8. So again, we're going to give you a reminder on Wednesday. But Wednesday night,
and the Bounce
9 p.m.
Network, it's going to show from coast to coast.
Okay, so nationally,
it's an honor to be the face and the voice of that particular project. I'm very grateful for the folks here at Raycon Media for allowing me that opportunity.
All right, Steve, we thank you for being here, and don't go anywhere. Much more on Bounce right after this.